Hello and welcome back to another episode of More Than a Business Live. I am your host, Mitch Case. I'm also the proud co-founder of More Than a Meal, where we help you strengthen your most valuable relationships by showing gratitude, appreciation, and empathy one meal at a time. We started this show a handful of months ago with the intent to interview great leaders with great organizations that are truly running those as more than a business. And we get to come to you guys every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. And a lot of that is possible because of the amazing guests that we have, but is also possible because of our sponsor, True Captive. They believe in healthcare that is personal and insurance that is not complicated. So if you do want to learn more about this unique captive healthcare program, go on over to truecaptive.com, or you can reach out to me and I'll get you connected with some of their team to answer any of those questions you may have. They've great individuals working at that organization. I'd be more than happy to get you connected. So with that, our next guest today, I got introduced to him through LinkedIn and we struck it up. And just in the first, when you have those conversations, like in the first minute or two, like you're just like, we're on the same wavelength. It just resonates in what we were doing and why we were doing these things. And this gentleman is not short of that by any means in the work that he gets to do. So I do want to go ahead and introduce Rylee Meek to the show. Rylee, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, Mitch? Happy to be here, brother.
I am so excited to have you on this show and very grateful for you to come on because we are going to talk about something that is near and dear to the personal life of my own and my family. And that is our faith, and you being the co-founder of King's Council. We're going to dive into that and what truly makes it more than a business. But before we go ahead and do all of that, I would love for you just to share like a positive impact story that you or King's Council has had directly on a member, a colleague, or a community member.
Oh man, so many that I could share, brother. But I'll just go through kind of some of the more recent. At the King's Council, we host events. We call these events "Become the CEO of Your Life." And most recent one that we had was held out in West Virginia, and we go out and really just served a local community. We held this event. It's a weekend workshop in which we teach people on what we really believe are 5 pillars of our life: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and financial. And we had a couple hundred people, maybe 250 or so people that attended this weekend workshop. And sometimes when you do events or you speak a lot, man, it's like, did anybody resonate with that? Is there any fruit? Like, was there a ripple effect at all?
Yeah.
And you just kind of there's a lot of self-doubt, I think, that takes place in people. And
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. And just hearing some of the stories, even I literally just got off a coaching call with one of the people that attended that event. And just hearing kind of the ripple effect that, even some of the teachings that we had. I mean, one of the people that attended literally took it to the community that following Wednesday and did a workshop, kind of a mini training on everything that we were able to communicate, and really just kind of unlock these mindsets that I think a lot of us put on. And so it's so important, I think, just surrounding yourself with like-minded people that want to grow, that don't want just the ordinary, mediocre life, but want to be extraordinary while they're here on this earth. I mean, our time is limited, man. And so we got to make the most of it. And that's why I think I just love what you guys are doing with your community, just being the impact for businesses and just speaking and individually into people's lives that just need a little bit of hope, a little bit of encouragement every now and then.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And even like you had just mentioned, just the impact that we maybe don't always realize that we do have down the road, but to actually have the feedback. I mean, I'm curious, like, did you have a call to action? It was like, hey, don't keep this a secret, get out and go and duplicate this within your own community? Or is this person just so motivated and driven from what you had provided them that they just couldn't not share that?
Yeah, I think the hope for us coming out of those events is, yes, that there will be a ripple effect, but no, it's not like go do this now. They just took those concepts and started to, teach them and implement them to others that weren't able to attend. And so that's, I think, was the most encouraging thing out of that, because it wasn't like, we have a coaching community people can pay to be a part of, but
Right.
that's above and beyond that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
we don't even care about if you pay to be a part of the community. We just want to make sure that there's an impact that's being made, not even at the local level, but just regionally, nationally, generationally as well, because there's so much going against us nowadays. And it's like, man, can we have any sort of good news every now and then, or any sort of encouragement?
Yes.
So yeah, that was the biggest impact of recent that we've heard, man.
I mean, it just brings me a lot of joy in the sense of just hearing about the work that you guys do, or just anybody's work, in the sense that you can have such an impact of like true value that you just cannot not go and talk about it.
Yes.
That's really, really a true sign of just incredible value that you guys are bringing to the table. And as I said before we even got started here, like I'm not surprised by any means, but boy, does that self-doubt come in, and you just wonder when you're up there, is this even hitting anybody in this room? Even when it's filled with hundreds of people, like play the odds, but you're still going to be like, I hope this hits one person.
Yes. I feel like the teacher on Ferris Bueller's Day Off sometimes, like Bueller.
Bueller. Are you there? I promised you before I started this episode that I would mess up, and I already did. I forgot to let anybody know that's tuning into this. If you guys have any questions as Rylee and I go throughout this show, shoot them into the comments. We'd be happy to do that. If you're tuning in from my Facebook or LinkedIn or Rylee's Facebook or LinkedIn, shoot that in the comments as well and let us know where you're coming from, because we don't get to see that, but it's always great to have some back and forth interaction. And we may even give you guys a quick shout out on the show here. But Rylee, you talked about the pillars that you guys have. And I know when we initially talked, I've kind of had this transformation from having the good job, making the good money, losing myself in all of that, coming to the realization that what I truly wanted out of life was to be more present, more active in the work that I do and help and serve more people, which led us to our business. Fun and exciting. And then it goes on and you're white knuckling, and then you have challenges that you're faced with, and all these things, like you just become so blind to some of these things. You get so inundated and you get lost in that, and you start white knuckling, and then you lose your physical health, your mental health, your marital health. Like all of these things just all of a sudden start coming at you as you think you're doing the right thing, but in reality, you're not serving your real purpose. And I don't want to steal too much of your thunder in regards to some of the work and transformation that you guys are having. But with all of that, I would love for you to give us just high level, like your position within what that looks like on a day-to-day basis for King's Council, and what would somebody get out of this thing called King's Council. And then we're going to dive into the specifics of what truly makes it more than a business.
Sure, man. Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, the King's Council is a community, as I mentioned earlier, of like-minded individuals. And I know that's not even a real word, but I've made it up because I believe the mindset is one of, if not the most important thing that we need to grab hold of, like take captive of those thoughts that we have every single morning, every single day. And at the core of what we really do is we disciple entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that is, it's entrepreneurship as a whole can be, you hit it. It's like, sometimes you're white knuckling, sometimes it's a roller coaster. And it can feel lonely at times too. Yeah. And so it's so important to be in community with those like-minded people that are running the race with you. And so we developed this, really, it was kind of birthed out of the whole 2020 debacle. And just feeling like, man, is there anybody else out there? Because I've got multiple other businesses that we still run and operate, but I was never more unfulfilled in my life in the fall of 2019. And I realized, man, you could be incredibly successful at a lot of things and still feel like a failure if you're not operating for the God-given intended purpose of why you were created. Yeah. Right? For example, bro, I got a treadmill in my home basement. Yeah, man, that's right. I got a treadmill in my home basement that is incredibly successful at hanging my clothes. It's super successful at it. But that's
most
not
expensive closet you've ever bought, huh?
Exactly right, man. The manufacturer would consider that a failure, right? It's like, that's not what I created that for. And when I had this kind of realization, it's like, all right, so then what is my ultimate purpose? And because for me, a lot of times, or, you know, for 20 years of my life, I had this view of what success was. I want to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with who I want, how I want. And the only way that I knew to do that was I got to be rich, baby. I got to go make some money. And that was my focus. And still at the end of every one of those businesses that we built, we've started 9 different companies now. Every single one of them has hit 7 and 8 figures within the first year of each. It was still just like, is this it? Like, is this really what life is about? And I realized it's not. There's merit in doing those things. But it was just coming to this understanding. And when I started to raise my hand, like, hey, does anybody else feel this way? Like there's more to life. And as we just started to raise our hand, we realized there was a lot of people out there that had that same heart and desire. And so yeah, we really developed the King's Council is somewhat of a coaching community, but above and beyond that, it's like family. It's a tribe of those, both men and women that are on mission to fulfill their God-given purpose on this earth. And so, we do, you know, group coaching calls. We do live events, workshops, and it's great. It's fun to have the community of those like-minded people that know what it's like to go through the white knuckle times, the mountaintops, the valleys, because it's going to happen. If you're in business, you know, if it's not happening right now, it will happen at some point.
Yeah. I've got kind of a question, because so often I'll hear about people that are like, oh, it's not about the money. It's like, I need to find purpose and I need to do all of that, but it's hard to do a lot of those things without money. So I always kind of have this idea in my mind that, you know, profit's not a bad word, or even in the words of Zig Ziglar, like, money is not the most important thing, but it's up there with oxygen at times.
Yep.
So how do you, and I'm speaking for myself, like, I'm very driven to go out and produce at a very high level. I'm just able to do that in a way that also fulfills that purpose. So how do you try to break somebody that maybe has this mindset of like, I have to make $1 million a year to feel successful? Like, that's not easily just like, I don't just turn that off and it's done and I forget about it. Like, it's still ingrained in me to go out and produce at a very high level. But I went down that road and I found dark alleys and loneliness and empty and all the things that you just said. So how do you help somebody that maybe has that mindset right now that it's hard to get out of?
Yeah. Well, first off, I think if anybody tells you that money's not important to them, or it's not a motivator to them, I will flat out call them out and tell them they're lying.
We got some BS going on here that we need to work through.
100%. Because if it's not, then don't wake up and go to your job. Then don't, like, if it's not. But at the end of the day, we live in America, right? For at least I think most of the people listening to this, and that is a responsibility I think that we need to take very, very seriously. We're less than 5% of the whole world's population, yet America funds almost to the 90th percentile of every missionary work and thing out there. And so it is so important, a responsibility I think that we do not take seriously enough. And so if you're in business and you're not doing it to make money, I think you're calling the BS police on that, because that's partly why we do business. Yes, there's culture and there's employees and the opportunities that we provide for other people to make money. And so that is, I'm right at the same level with Zig in that, it is, it's right up there with oxygen, because we're a faith-based organization, right? So there's a lot of talk. I mean, Jesus talked a fourth of the New Testament almost was about like money, wealth, and possessions. And if he talked about it that much, then I think it's important for us to talk about it just as much. Right. But I think some people get fearful of it because they of the love of money. Right.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. It's the love. That's the verb within that. And we also know that we cannot serve both God and money, or a more proper translation is mammon. That's the spirit of money, the power that we give it. And so if I know those things, I have to just really ask myself, who or what is dictating the decision in my life and anything that I'm doing? Is it to make money, or is it to honor God? Am I doing it because I'm serving God, and then but then I have to make money serve me? And that's the catch. It's not that we're not supposed to have it; it's that it's not supposed to have us. And I think getting over that mindset, because this was my struggle, and why for 15 years of my life almost, I ran away from the church as a whole. I ran away from those things, and it wasn't until I found no fulfillment. There just wasn't any fulfillment in those quote unquote successes that I had to really have an understanding, call it a come to Jesus moment of like, what am I doing in this life? Because there's got to be more to this thing. And it comes back to, our mindset, right? And how we view things, because we all have a perception, right? And our perception is our reality, whether we like it or not. But the reality is the way that you view things, the way that you even read scripture, the way that you just live out your life is based upon your perception. And I think a lot of us have a skewed perception of what success is and ultimately why we're in business. Because everything that we do, we are called to do unto the Lord, right? If you're a follower of Jesus, like I am, I know not everybody listening to this is, but that's our what our calling is to do. It's like everything that I do. So me operating anything short of excellence is a failure. That's unsuccessful, right? And so when we take on this new mindset, and it's not like a heaviness or like, oh man, that's just going to be more work, but it's I think you even opened this, man. You said I love on words chosen, and you said that I get to run King's Council or something along those lines, and it's like, yes, that is. It's a mindset that I get to do this. I don't have to do anything, but I get to do the things that I choose to do, where I'm going to focus my time, energy, and effort. And so, yeah, brother, I could go on and on and on with this.
I mean, you just said something that like, it needs to be a one-liner. And if it isn't already, about the fact that, we get to have money, but money doesn't get to have us. It's such a, it's something that I struggled with for many, many years in regards to just feeling like I needed more and more and more of it, until the point it was just pure. I mean, let's be honest, it was pure greed. Like I was doing things not to serve other people. It was, how is this going to bless me or serve me? And it just got too far away with the work that I was doing to actually help people. It was more about helping myself. So
absolutely. Here's a trick I learned with that, Mitch. Now in the last, 4.5, 5 years of my life, it changed radically compared to who I was prior to that. And now here's one thing that I do. I never set an income goal without first setting a giving goal. And now this is a mindset trick. It's like, okay, if I want to give $1 million, well, I got to go make
really, I got to make
more than $1 million, right? Like it's so
simple math. Yeah.
It's simple math. And so it gives us a new intention of why we're going to do something. And so for those listening, that's just a little trick to put that. It's like, no, I'm going to do this because I want to give to this cause or to this organization. And at the end of the day, it requires money. It requires provision. The number one enemy of every vision is lack of provision. And if we can be the provision for the God-given vision of the church or of a charity or anything along those lines, that then can become a portion of our purpose here on this earth.
Goodness, we could literally have a very long conversation on this one, but unfortunately I do have to keep us moving so we don't run out of time here. So let's talk about King's Council in general. I know we've probably stolen a lot of thunder already, but I do want to just ask the question in regards to like, what makes it more than a business? What are you guys doing, the tangibles, intangibles that truly make it more than just the bottom line?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, if this was a business that I was doing only to make money, I'd have killed this thing a long time ago. And believe me, I've had that conversation with God a few times.
You led me here. Now what?
Yes, absolutely. But the beautiful thing is, I have other businesses that are able to fund what we do. A lot of people will tell, I heard this advice early on as in my, call it career, or even going through high school, of like, what are you going to do with your life? My daughter even asked me this. She's 12 now, but we hopped in the car the other day and she goes, Dad, at what point did you know what you were going to do for your life? And I'm like, baby, I'm still trying to figure that thing out. Right. But I think the back to what I had mentioned. Oh, the advice that I was given was, if you follow your passion, you'll never work a day in your life. And I'm gonna call the BS police
Thank
on
you.
that thing again, because I know a lot of broke people that are very passionate, right? They're passionate
Yeah.
about things, but they're broke as a joke. Therefore, they aren't able to do anything with that
Yeah.
passion, right? So it's in my opinion, it's a complete waste of passion. So
Mm-hmm.
what I've done is I've followed opportunity, but I always bring my passion with me.
Yep.
And as an entrepreneur, or if anybody, that's anything that you're doing, no matter if you're working a job, you're looking to start a business, like look for opportunities in the marketplace. But no matter what that is, always bring your passion with you, because that's going to be the driving force of
Yep.
what you're going to do. And I think that is just an understanding again of why we choose to do certain things or not certain things. And so the King's Council as a whole, we don't make money with this. In fact, we converted it into a nonprofit a couple of years ago, and we give it all away. Every dollar that comes in, we give it all away, because I've been able to set up businesses that are able to fund my passion. Right?
Yes.
Provision for the vision here of
Mm-hmm.
what we're building within the King's Council. And I think anybody can do that. If you do happen to have a business that is your passion, then baby, run with that thing.
You hit the jackpot.
Yes,
I had
absolutely.
a mentor that kind of talked about like this list of the things that you would do, paid or unpaid, the list of things that you are good at, and having those two lists kind of intertwine and connect is like living out purpose, passion, gift, whatever that may be. And it's not necessarily always the fact that you're going to be able to monetize that. Sometimes you can, but he always talked about like he had started a successful coffee company, and he's like, this whole idea of, doing what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. He's like, I thought about burning this place to the ground so many times, but because I did what I enjoy and what I am good at, I was able to endure the bad days. I enjoyed the work that I was doing, and it allowed me to go and fill other purpose and passions that I have that are outside of that.
Yes.
We always talk about like, oh, I need to go work for the thing that is my passion. I don't necessarily agree with that, in the sense that you could work at an organization, you could be an accountant where you are just crunching numbers all day, but because you work there and the flexibility you have, it allows you to be flexible enough to go and be at the other places that do actually fill that cup and that purpose driven side. So it's not about just necessarily finding the thing that you love and getting paid to do that. It's about finding ways to go and do those things, at least from my opinion, finding ways to go and do those things to fill out that purpose. And if you're lucky enough, like your friend had mentioned, and you can hit the trifecta of doing all of that and getting paid to do it, kudos to you on that one.
Yes, absolutely, man.
Oh gosh. Yeah. You got me all fired up on this one, because it is something that, yeah, it's near to my heart. So let's kind of keep moving, because we are running out of time quick here. We want to talk about you now, Rylee. We know not every single day is going to be your best self. We know that life comes at us from multiple different reasons, whether it's personal or professional. Sometimes we only have 20% of ourselves to give, but what continues to have you show up, serve King's Council, serve the companies that are helping fund King's Council, and just serving the people that you get to serve? Like, what makes you continue showing up every single day to do that?
Yeah, man. We coach on this framework. We call it the 7-day blueprint, which it's really based off of Genesis. God, the creator of everything, the original creator, it has given us a blueprint of how to successfully build anything, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business, or heck, whether it's a successful life. And so why wouldn't we follow that original blueprint? I think it's one of the reasons it's spelled out for us on why he created and how he created anything. And the very first thing that we start off with is a vision, right? Like, what is the vision, the God-given vision that you have? Because your vision is going to give any sort of pain purpose. And Lord knows that there's going to be pain, right? There's going to be those days you mentioned, like,
Yeah.
man, I only got 20% today, but my job is to give 100% of that 20%.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I'm going to choose to operate in excellence. And if the vision is not strong enough, and a lot of us have gone through this is why, in January 1, the gyms are packed, right? It's like New Year's resolutions. And then by February 1, there's crickets in there. There's nobody in there. And it's like, well, why is that? Because they didn't really truly buy into the vision. Like they're like, that would be cool, but they weren't willing to give any sort of pain, right? Because it's painful to work out.
It is,
likes
yeah.
to be sore,
especially
right?
day 2.
Yes, absolutely. And so, but if you have decided, and this is where I think a lot of people make a mistake, is they continually make choices versus deciding. And decide comes, the root word to decide means to literally cut off. So there is no other option. The choice has been made because it's been decided. So I don't care if I got 1 hour of sleep last night, or if this morning I woke up to dog doo-doo everywhere. It wasn't a great morning here, but I had already decided that I was getting to the gym at 8 a.m. And so I was cleaning this stuff up and doing, my devotional time. And because if I wouldn't have decided, I'd been like, there's just too much going on. It's chaotic. I'm just not going to go at that point in time. Yeah. But because the decision was made, it's an easy choice to make. Is it getting me further from my vision or closer to the vision that I have? And I think if we pre-decide those things in our life, that will ultimately, that will help us to gain any sort of momentum from getting out of a rut into a rhythm of life that will also allow us to excel and ultimately operate in that excellence. Whatever it is in your life that it is that you're looking to accomplish or to do, decide, make the decision. No longer let choices be the dictator, because at the end of the day, you can live a life by default, or you can live a life by design. And if you choose that design format, man, that's when you're put in a position to be used for incredible things on this earth.
I have no response to any of that other than the fact that I'm just listening and absorbing a lot of that. Also, I think we have the same dog. Maybe that's a piece of it as well. We've got some aging pups in our house. So I've had those fair share of mornings that don't go quite as you imagine them being. But Rylee, man, I like the words that you just spoke, really spoke to me personally. And I know that's going to resonate with a lot of people because, 6 months ago, I found myself in that rut. It just seems like you try and try and try, and it's just nothing but hearing more about the word decision. It's a really, really easy way for me to categorize that and take action on those things based on that new mindset that you just kind of shared with that. So, man, I cannot thank you enough for coming on this show and speaking that truth. The work that you're doing with King's Council, the work that you're doing outside of that to provide for King's Council, I am greatly appreciative of that work. If this resonated with anybody and they're thinking, and I need to know more about King's Council, how I can get involved, this is speaking to me, or they need to hear more advice from you, what's the best way for them to reach out and get a hold of you?
Yeah. joinkingscouncil.com. They can find more information on what we do. We have an app. It's completely free to be a part of our community. And we invite as many people as possible that want to be a part of a community, start to build relationships. We do, weekly calls, a free call every Wednesday morning for people to hop on. And then we do, additional coaching calls and things like that. And that's really just based upon the individual and where they're at in life.
Sure.
But yeah, otherwise, we have, if they're listeners to podcasts and shows like this, the King's Council podcast, I think we're getting close to a couple hundred episodes that we've put out now. And so, we on that podcast, we just talk about life, but from a biblical perspective of how do we walk this life out in excellence, and really just how do we become the best versions of ourselves. Right. Because if we're not operating in excellence in mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, how in the world can we show up for our spouse? How can we show up for our family? But it's not a burden. And this is, again, as a mindset, it's like, this is what I get to do to be the best version of myself.
Well, I'll make sure to put some of the links in the comments afterwards so that people can easily find that as well. But another part of this show is my wife and I always want to make sure that we're able to show our own gratitude and appreciation for you coming on the show. So we love to gift a meal to somebody that is on your team or a member of those sorts. But if you have somebody in mind that would be a great recipient of that gift, tell us a little bit about that person and why.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, brother. I'm going to say, I mentioned the West Virginia event that we had hosted. So Pastor Kevin Jones and his wife, Wendy, would be amazing. They're an incredible beacon of hope and light in that community that they have there. They built an incredible culture within the congregation that they have at Summit Church out in West Virginia. And they're expecting. They got a baby on the way.
So all right.
They would be a great recipient for that.
That's amazing. Well, we'll definitely get connected with you after the show here to make sure we can get that out to them here pretty quickly. Rylee, if you have any last words for anybody that's tuning in today or tomorrow in the future, I'll go ahead and let you do that. And then I'll take us off with the last words.
Yeah, I would say a saying that I've kind of really started to live by is action brings clarity. And what I mean by that, I think so many people in fear or analysis paralysis are just struggling to make decisions because they don't know if it's the wrong decision or even, the right one. And so let me just tell you that if you're on the fence with whatever decision it is that you're making, the enemy owns the fence. Right. So we have to just make a decision, right? Choose, okay, decide, get off the fence because that action is going to bring clarity. Because even if it was the wrong action, at least you found out quicker.
No.
Yes. At least you found out quicker than not taking action because it's at the end of the day, most decisions, not all, but most decisions, it's not like, am I going to die? Right. It's like it's out of fear, usually a fear of man. And if we can just start to take action, that's going to bring clarity in our life so we can pivot or we can continue to move forward. But doing nothing is only going to end up in regret.
Those are some really, really good last words. Thank you so much again, Rylee, for coming on the show and talking about King's Council and all the other work that you get to do and really probably changing a lot of mindsets for those that tuned in today. So thank you enough for all of that. And we'll be back next week on Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time with Robert with Classical Conversations. I'm excited to dive into what makes that more than a business as well. So until next time, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care.